So my biggest reason for actually choosing to study at London is because London is a global media hub. I was awarded the J.N. Tata Scholarship, which is an 18 lakh INR scholarship. The first thing I realized is, okay, यहाँ लोग रट्टा मार के एग्जाम नहीं देते, यहाँ तो कुछ और ही चल रहा है. It's pretty different. And I go into class, and to my surprise, I'm the only Indian. I would be on Facebook groups talking about internships in London, media in London, freelancers in London. You realize that no one's coming to save you for little things, and you really have to stand up and save yourself. My company, where we are today, and the kind of work we do within media, with TV networks, requires those skills that I had built in that 1 year in London. Today we're going to be talking about how consistency compounds over time, and you can become the best version of yourself if you're investing in yourself on a daily basis. My name is Anvita Dixit, and I'm a yoga educator and founder of Yogic Gurukul, and I'm also a model and actor at the same time. Now, my journey has been really interesting because I lived and grew up at a yoga institution, and I always thought that perhaps this is the field that I would be in. I would pretty much do yoga all my life. But I think life had other plans, and things turned out a little bit differently from what I expected. Over time, I was awarded the J.N. Tata Scholarship, which is an 18 lakh INR scholarship for Indian students to study abroad. And I also appeared on MTV. I was able to have 3 original shows on TV and was able to launch my own company. So let's take a pause and just discuss how all of this happened. So, over time, I realized that the most important thing for me is to really make a mark for myself, both in India and abroad. And in order to do that, an international education made the most sense. So my biggest reason for actually choosing to study at London is because London is a global media hub. And it truly is. And you actually see people, photographers, videographers, models, artists, literally just doing their thing throughout the city. And I can't even begin to tell you how many opportunities there are in London. Another reason I wanted to be in London is because of the time. It takes just 1 year to complete a master's degree in the UK, whereas it takes 2 years in the US. And for someone like me who knew that I want to be in the media industry, it is true that the younger you are in the media space, the better. So time was of the essence, and I didn't want to spend 2 years doing a master's degree, especially in media. I wanted to just spend 1 year doing it and then come back to India. So I chose King's College and London also specifically for that reason. And then I narrowed down on King's, especially because it actually had a very vibrant media department. A lot of the other colleges that I was looking at were fantastic in the science field, business, law, even dentistry. But I knew that I really want to focus on the world of media and communication. And King's had that right off the bat. So that's where I wanted to be, working with some of the best minds in the field. And also, eventually, my professor who guided my dissertation was someone who'd actually created the module called Entrepreneurship in the Arts and Creative Industries. And that was a big one for me. So I knew that if this is my professor and he guides my dissertation, there's pretty much nothing I can't do. The next step is your LOR and your SOP, the more technical details. So when you're looking at a statement of purpose, the most important thing is to think about, what do I want to do with my life? And let me not just fake it and make up some story to impress people on an academic council, but let me deeply think about, what is life? What do I want to do with my life? And how will this course help me to achieve that? What are some of the teachings and learnings that I will gain from this course that will take me to the next level? And if I can answer that question in an honest and meaningful way, then anybody reading my SOP will be convinced that I truly mean it, and this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. The next step is your LOR, letter of recommendation. This is another step that you really want to be good at. As long as you're nice to most people around you, you're trustworthy, you're somebody the teachers around you feel that this person, they're going to do good in life. They have good intention. And then even in the moments that you're struggling sometimes, they let you pass and they know that you have a good heart overall. So I would say just be a good human being for a good letter of recommendation. But make sure you're approaching people that are in significant positions of power and leadership and have directly supervised your work or your academic performance. Now, after looking at your SOP, your LOR, the next thing is your GRE, GMAT, or your IELTS or TOEFL. Now, I know this is the part that stresses most of us out the most because, we're like, we have to maintain our scores, our grades. What if I don't do that well? But the most important thing over here is, again, consistency. If you've been practicing for the GRE for 1 or 2 months and you know your basic fundamental math skills and English skills, it's very hard not to do well, actually. So when I gave the GRE and the IELTS, my GRE score was 315, which was a fairly decent score for my program, which was more focused on creative media industries. And in the IELTS test, which is an English language test, I got an 8 out of 9 in my overall band score, which is a pretty great score, but I think most of us can crack it, especially if you go to an English speaking or an English medium school. Becomes easier because we know the language pretty well. So when I was staying in London, I was living at an accommodation called the William Goodenough House, which is a postgraduate institution for any students that are coming to London from any college. The amazing thing about this place is you have to write an application to get in there. And if you do well, they will accept you, or if the application doesn't suit their criteria, they may reject your application as well. After that, we come to life abroad, like what actually happens when you're living abroad. So when I first went to London to King's College to pursue my master's in cultural and creative industries, the first thing I realized is, okay, यहाँ लोग रट्टा मार के exam नहीं देते, यहाँ तो कुछ और ही चल रहा है, it's pretty different. And it's not going to work. You're just memorizing your textbook and then going and putting it out there in an exam. Here, creative thinking matters. It matters the way you originate and come up with new ideas, the way you innovate, and also what you stand for. So in this situation, the most important thing to do is to try to come up with original theories that you reference from other books. The research style and the way things are structured are very different to an Indian scenario. And I would encourage you to visit libraries as often as you can and speak to your peers who have been in an international education system so that they can give you the right advice to what you should be doing. So that, I think, was the biggest change or difference for me. So the first day when I had chosen my electives, this is the course that I was doing, this was the subject, and I go into class, and to my surprise, I'm the only Indian. Like literally in the entire class of, we were, I think, about 120 students, I was the only Indian. And that can be a little bit overwhelming, right? Because you're seeing people of different nationalities, different ethnicities, and you're just a bit like, am I in the wrong class? Like, where is everyone else? And I realized that it truly was the case. I was the only Indian student pursuing that course. So yeah, it was a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but eventually the positive side to this was that I made friends with people from all over the world. Like I had a French friend, I had a German friend, I had a friend from the US, I had a friend who was British. And you can only imagine my worldview expanded so much because I was exposed to different cultures, different foods, different lifestyles. But it really taught me to respect the good things that other cultures do and what I can take away from that and what I can learn from it. So yeah, my first day may have been a little bit daunting, but it taught me so much. And by the end of it, I had this whole girl gang, each of us from different nationalities. And even till today, we're best friends. We have our video calls. We stay in touch with each other. If I'm making a big life decision, I actually message them and ask them, consult with them. And one of my friends who was French decided to even come to India to do a yoga teacher training. So you do stay connected with the friends, with the memories that you make over there. What I will also say is that going abroad, going anywhere outside your comfort zone helps you to understand what your superpowers are. Things that you may not be aware of, कि आप जानते ही नहीं कि आप ये सब कर भी सकते हैं. And it breaks you in certain moments, but it also remolds you to become the strongest version of yourself. Secondly, I would say living abroad is very different from living in India. वहाँ पे सचमुच सब खुद करना पड़ता है. There's not too much help around you. And in a good way that actually makes you a better human being. because you realize that no one's coming to save you for little things, and you really have to stand up and save yourself. Whether it's you realize that milk has gotten over at 10 p.m. at night and it's freezing cold outside and you still need that milk for the next morning, or you realize you forgot to recharge your phone and there's nobody who's going to come around and help you. So no matter what the issue, you really have to stand up, take the lead, and solve it for yourself. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is the living expenses, especially when we are living in a city like London, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world. Well, in a situation like this, it's important to also take on internships at the same time. You're allowed to work up to 20 hours while you're there. And so you should take on things that you like. So here's what I would do, right? I had a couple of apps open at all times. I would be on Facebook groups talking about internships in London, media in London, freelancers in London. I would be in all of these Facebook groups with my notifications on. And then I would be on King's College Talent Bank, along with all of the King's College jobs portals, so that anytime there was an update, I would be the first person to know about it. And along with that, I would also make sure that I'm constantly in touch with people in my college that are influencers, if you will, of college, right? So they know what's happening. You can go to them and they'll tell you, हाँ, यहाँ ये हो रहा है, वहाँ वो हो रहा है. So I stretched myself out and made sure I had my contacts in the right places. And then before you know it, opportunities would just line up. I didn't have to do anything because I had set the system. And then the system would just bring in opportunities to me. The first thing I did is I landed in September. And by October, I already had 4 photo shoots done. I was like, I'm modeling, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. So yes, I was studying. I had to make sure that I had my grades up. Also because when I had the J and Tata scholarship, if you do well in the first semester, they give you 7.5 lakh more the next month. So I was like, I'm going to do well in this semester. So I had the pressure of studying and doing well. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that, you're in London, you should make the most of it. So I would be doing photo shoots, working with a lot of top photographers there. I also did 3 music videos, and that was really fun. I also acted in a play. And at the same time, I would be doing internships in more organized industries as well. So I worked as business development executive in a startup. I also worked as an admin assistant in a fitness company, and I did a whole bunch of these smaller gigs to bring in the income and support my time there. What this meant was, I have to spell this out, you get only 20 hours of paid work. So I would take those 20 hours and put them into formal paid work with the company. All the shoots, everything that I did everything for free as a hobby. Because you can't work beyond 20 hours. And secondly, that was more of my skill set building time. I didn't necessarily want to charge for it. I just wanted to learn and grow and work with the best people. So I was like, I'll do it for free. I just want to work with everyone possible. So I did more and more of that. And I think today I will say very easily that my company where we are today and the kind of work we do within media, with TV networks, requires those skills that I had built in that 1 year in London. But I have to say, it sounds like everything is, a party and everything is very rainbow-esque while you're there. But there's also always a flip side to the situation, right? And I think the flip side, which I wasn't as ready for, is how much, and I truly mean how much, I was going to miss my family. I think I had really underestimated that it takes a village to make your dreams come true. And of course, we can do it all alone and we can be there and go out there, hustle and achieve our dreams. But coming home to your people, having your best friends just a phone call away, being able to walk into their house and just be close to them, the emotional connection and comfort that gives you is truly priceless. So that was one of my biggest learnings. Secondly, also, people don't talk about this enough, but the weather is very different in London compared to how it is in India. Some people, of course, adapt and it becomes okay for them, but I like wearing summer clothes 12 months of the year. I like being in our Indian attire, and I just wanted to be in an environment that was supportive. and also conducive for yoga practice as well. I just felt like the Indian climate was a better bet for me. Another really funny thing about my time in London was that I missed people so much. And I'm not just talking about my close family and friends now. I mean like people in general, right? I miss them so much that I still remember this. It was Christmas, December, and everybody had gone home because that's what everyone does. But since it was just a 1-year program, I was like, घर जाने का कोई फायदा नहीं है, एक ही साल है, अभी यही रहो. And I stayed on, but it was like the streets used to be deserted. So I was like, what do I do? Because there are not enough people. And I'm from Mumbai, right? So I'm used to seeing like packed local trains, people everywhere screaming and like talking. And so I felt so homesick at that time that I would actually go to this street in London called Oxford Street. And if you've ever been there, you know what this street is. It is one of the most packed streets in the city. And I would just go there because wahan pe log hai. And I just want to be around those people. And I would like walk around and I remember people would look at me like, she looks a bit aimless, like what is she doing? But I just wanted to feel like I'm part of something. And I realized that in London, it's easy to feel a little, sometimes you can feel a little bit lost because it's not the way India is culturally and in terms of a community. It's much more individualistic in that sense. And sometimes you can even be in a crowded tube and still feel alone in some cases. So I realized that friendship, that camaraderie, that kind of bonding that we share in India is a rarity. And mujhe agar wo chahiye tha, then I really had to just go to Oxford Street to find that as much as I could. So for me, some of the challenges like feeling lonely, missing my friends, not having my parents around, and just realizing that life can be much more beautiful with the right community was enough of a tipping point for me to definitely want to come back. So after I finished my degree, it took 1 year, like I was saying. And then once I finished it, I was determined to come back. And once I came back, I think that I just jumped right into the media industry as quickly as I could. The first thing I did when I came back was I found myself on the sets of a popular MTV TV show called Supermodel of the Year. And that was a great, great training experience. I'm so happy that happened. I didn't win, otherwise you would have known. But I definitely had a great time participating. And it taught me everything I know, the basics and the foundation elements of how media works in India today. After that, I realized that reality TV is definitely not for me. And I'm much more of a positive, upbeat person than that. So I decided to move back into health and fitness and focus full-time on my company, Yogic Gurukul, with my team. And we were able to create more than 300 YouTube videos focusing on Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is an ancient Indian text. This is the only body of work that covers the entire textbook anywhere on the entire internet. And we're very proud to have created this piece of work for people to go through. And this has been an amazing turning point for us because I realized that people that are attracted the most to a lot of our Indian culture and tradition are people living abroad. So even today, we work with a lot of international clients to make sure that they understand the true meaning of life through ancient yogic texts and what Indian culture has to offer them. So once I came back, it was MTV, setting up Yogic Gurukul, and I also worked with CultFit at the same time as their lead for yoga digital content, being the face of their yoga brand for a while. So it was overall quite an interesting journey. I was basically just meandering through the lanes of yoga, health, fitness, and media. And I have a feeling that my career going forward is going to be much more of the same, going through intersections of these two different worlds and trying to integrate them together as best I can. So that brings me to my overall journey so far and how it's been. And it also brings me back to what I said in the beginning, that consistency compounds over time. I think the one thing you may have seen throughout this entire talk was that it was all very intentional and that I tried to be consistent over a period of time that led to the things that it led to because time prevailed in the end. So I would say that don't just wake up one day and be like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. No, take your time, decide, think very meaningfully about what you want to do with your life, why you're here, how can you add value, what can you do in a meaningful way, and most importantly, how can you impact people's lives with the skills, the training, and the heart that you have. And I think if you have those intentions and you set your mind in the right place, there's genuinely nothing that you cannot accomplish. So I wish you all the very best. And I cannot wait to tell you in our next video how to actually win this 18 lakh JN Tata scholarship. So I can't wait to see you in the next one. Until then, go out there and accomplish your dreams.